Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Mill podcast. I have to say, it's so fulfilling to be back on the show. It feels like a fresh start. I love sharing these topics and guests with you. I relish open discussions and connections with fascinating people. On that note, please send me feedback. What topics would you like to hear discussed on the show? Who would you like me to chat with? I just recently watched the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix. We are surrendering our uniqueness and free will for clickbait and fleeting dopamine hits. As much as it feels like we are destined to continue down this path of distraction and divide, I also found some silver linings while watching the doc. The film highlights that we are losing the ability to have open discussion with each other. Seeing how that is the foundation of this entire show, I feel empowered to continue producing the Mind Mill. I love being back, being healthy, and presenting a new episode to you today. Today's guest is Drew DeOrsey. Drew is a holistic health and nutrition coach based in the Denver area. In 2019, he was voted the #1 men's fitness instructor in all of Denver. He is also a certified weight loss hypnotherapist. He is one of the most driven and empowered individuals I've ever met. His positivity is infectious. He leads by example and is always searching for new ways to hone his body and mind. I've known Drew since he moved to Colorado and started teaching at a local gym. Over the years, we've become great friends. However, after I got sick, Drew became like a brother to me. He hosted a fundraising benefit on my behalf, came and visited me at the Mayo Clinic, and guided me through weekly cyber hypnosis sessions to keep my mind and soul strong through the darkest points of my illness. After our interview, we recorded a short hypnosis session together. I've included the session at the end of this show, so stick around. I've witnessed Drew grow in incredible ways in the years we've known each other. I'm so grateful for Drew, and I am happy to share this conversation with Drew DeOrsey on the Mind Mill podcast. Enjoy. Drew DeOrsey, welcome to the Mind Mill.
Well, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to be here.
I'm glad to finally have you on. You've been a supporter since day one and such a close friend. And I figure what better time than to bring you on than after this kind of rebuild of the Mind Mill, and especially after everything that you've done to help me through this crazy, crazy chapter in my life. So first and foremost, thank you so much, my friend. I have so much love for you.
Likewise.
I'll never forget all the hypnosis sessions and you visiting me up at the Mayo Clinic. So seriously, I love you, buddy.
I love you too, man.
I thought that maybe one of the best ways that we could start this podcast would be with a very quick, brief meditation, something to just kind of get our minds right so that we can put into the universe. We're going to have the best podcast and interview possible.
Okay, let's set that intention.
Right on.
Let's just put our feet flat on the floor. Hands in a comfortable position, and just go ahead and just close your eyes. And just noticing your breath. Every time you exhale, just feeling a physical release. Taking in one powerful, deep letting go breath. Feeling more and more relaxed as you release. And then let's just go ahead and get really clear with how we want to show up for this interview. Just thinking of one word. That word will just kind of be the intention for this interview, for this podcast, for this session. Get clear with it. Decide your word now and just begin to feel what it would feel like for that word to kind of take over your entire body, for that to kind of come to fruition. Just setting that intention. My word is presence. I'm just going to be present. And I'm feeling that right now. I'm breathing as if I was present, feeling as if I was present, sitting as if I was present. You can go ahead and open your eyes. Feeling good, feeling great, feeling however you want to feel. Because you are the creator, baby. All of this is because of you.
Thank you.
All of it.
Hell yeah. I was thinking about what word would be the best, and I thought, I was like, well, maybe like captain, because the captain steers the ship. I want to steer you to making the best interview. But then I was like, that's a little controlling.
Sure.
Maybe silence is the word I want to look for. But that doesn't exactly work, because if I just sit here, gets weird real quick.
It could be for some people.
Right. Well, for the purpose of a recorded audio.
Yeah.
But then I came up with illuminate.
Mm.
I want to facilitate this podcast to illuminate your story and your message. And that's beautiful. That one immediately started to vibrate.
That's beautiful.
As you were guiding that. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. The reason I chose presence is because I think presence is where everything else comes from. Like, you got to be present first before I can be illuminating, before I can be the captain, the follower.
There truly is there is nothing else other than the present. Right.
Yeah.
So any focus elsewhere.
That's usually my go-to intention or word before doing anything.
Yeah. There's no point in doing it if you're not focused on the task or on the state that you're in.
God, no, man.
I love having our conversations, and I know that one of the big risks that we will have in this is speaking freely on stuff that we've already talked about a ton, So I will do my absolute best to dissect it and backpedal it and make
freaky,
it as,
man. Let's keep it new, for sure.
as digestible for everybody, so that we don't go too out into the cosmos, right?
Sure.
Or we go out in the cosmos.
Man.
Sounds good too.
Wherever you want to steer the ship, Captain.
Tell me about this hero's origin of yours, because I know that you started as an athlete and you kind of got into fitness, but there's been such a transformation that I've witnessed just in the 4 or 5 years that we've known each other. Tell me about kind of how that started for you.
The way it started is I grew up with a ton of insecurity with my intelligence, with my strength, just with everything about life. I was just super insecure. And so I did everything in my ability to compensate for that by reading a bunch of books. So I was very intelligent, and I can tell people when they were right or wrong. And I was really good at that, telling when people were wrong.
People love that.
Sure. And then also on the physical aspect, I just wanted to be bigger and stronger and tougher than anybody. So my insecurities, I can just kind of drown them out and push them down. And when you're really disciplined like I was, and you just have this regular practice of studying stuff, of reading stuff, of training hard, you kind of expand your mind a little bit more, and it takes you into other avenues. If you just want to keep leveling up, you learn more deeper consciousness stuff. You train in a way that just kind of taps you into your heart. So it's just kind of evolved into one step to the other, really, from me being really insecure to want to be strong and confident.
At what age did you start making up for those insecurities through training in the gym and studying?
Yeah, it kind of all came into a halt at like 19. I think I was 19 when I was partying and drinking, got kicked off of the Division I football team that I was playing at the time, and I realized that I got to change something. So I read the first book I ever read in my entire life, and that is Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich?
Think and Grow Rich
That's
by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I started to apply all of his teachings and practices, and one book led to the next book, which led to the next book, and it's just one brick at a time, man, this slow, ever-evolving journey.
Sure. So when did you move out to Colorado? And why?
Like 5-6 years ago, when I was like 21, 22, something like that. At the time, I was doing some personal training in Detroit, living with my father, and nothing was coming to fruition. The people in Detroit didn't really vibe with my character very much, and I wasn't getting paid at all. I wasn't making any money. I was just living with my father, eating whatever my father bought. That's all I lived on, is because of my father. And I am so grateful for him. And one day he said, yo, you can't live here forever. Figure your shit out. And so I had 2 brothers living in Denver at the time. So I just came and crashed on their couch and kind of figured out how to make money. And then one thing led to another, and that's how it happened.
Right on.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, it was at a class-based gym, Pearl Street Fitness here. And I've had the original owners on the show before, as well as at least one other teacher. And I remember they were having some trouble with you in the very beginning.
For sure.
Just an attitude and maybe that little bit of that telling people when they're wrong and having a bit of pride in your intelligence, right, at the time. And then that went from you being, kind of on the cutting block to within a few months being one of the best teachers and coaches there. Can you expand a little bit on that chapter?
Great leadership, man. I had amazing people to look up to learn from the owners, from all of the incredible teachers that were teaching there at the time. And I was just able to kind of shapeshift my abilities to be more like them. Because I think to really get good at anything, you got to do what the great people are already doing before you can kind of sprinkle in your own little creativity. So I just literally would watch a good teacher and I would do exactly what they did. And that's kind of how I evolved. And I got to the point where I was able to sprinkle in my own creativity. And that's how I kind of evolved to be, voted as the best in Denver in 2019. So and when I showed up to coach there, I wasn't living like an actualized life. Like I was reading all of these personal development books, talking about how the mind can achieve whatever it can conceive and believe, but I wasn't really living congruently with that understanding. And it was very obvious when I would try to motivate people. People can see that I was a fraud. They can just pick up on that energy. And the more I kind of tapped into my own self-work, the more people were able to pick up on that.
I remember when you started to really get into the spiritual side of things and seeing how that wasn't a new chapter, it was an evolution of your research. Because I remember in the beginning, there was this kind of go, I guess, 10X rule sort of approach to it. But only recently, within the last couple of years, has the mindset really become such a central focus in your practice and now in your coaching and your training programs. So at what point, or was there a specific piece of like a movie or some media book that really started to tilt that and illuminate that for you?
You know what? I think it reminds me of this powerful experience that I had while reading a book. It was what was the book called? I forget the name of the book, but it was a fictional tale about this gymnastic guy who was following a guru, and this guru is teaching him a bunch of stuff. Perhaps it'll come to me. But in the book, he's talking about how he's sitting in the park and he's peeling back an onion layer after layer. And once you get to the core, you just keep peeling and there's really no core. And then the onion just kind of becomes everything. Does that make sense?
It just falls apart.
Yeah, it just the onion, there's no core and you just keep peeling back and back and back and there's nothing there. Okay. And the onion is the universe, I guess, is kind of the metaphor. And I read that and I just felt like I just kind of had this experience of, oh my God, I'm everything. Does that make sense? And I just felt illuminated. And from that moment, that's when I started to really dive into a bunch of books that just talked all about consciousness and the subconscious mind and how it relates to the way you show up in this world. So that one book really just tapped me into this really powerful experience that I wanted to keep tapping into. Yeah. Of just this feeling of oneness.
Sure.
With you, with anybody I'm around, with the trees, with everything.
How did that shift affect your routines?
It became much more effortless.
Interesting.
Much more relaxed, much more compassionate, much more loving.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself struggling with not having enough time in the day with these practices that you continue to adopt? Or is there a bit of shedding some and adopting others? I'm just interested in how you structure your days right now.
Sure. I think it's a process of shedding some and adding some others. And it's not super rigid. I've just kind of dabbled in the whole meditative visualization world for such a long time that I know how to get myself into a deep meditative state really quickly. So it doesn't take much time for me to get into it. So I don't have to devote 30 minutes to get my mind in the right spot. There's no routine with it, honestly. It's just however I feel, I just do it, man. The word's effortless.
Sure.
That I'm thinking.
We did an affirmation practice maybe a couple months ago, and it's interesting because we didn't exactly talk about this effortless topic, but going through that process, I actually did my affirmations this morning. Beautiful. And looking through that, I saw the word effortless in the statement of how does it feel once you have these affirmations inside of you? You know them by heart, you're living them. How does that feel when you're stepping into what you call your 2.0 version of yourself?
Right.
And effortless was the word, not without effort, but like it's on autopilot. And I know you and I are different in many ways, and I do lean on routine because it keeps me from veering off. But sometimes in the same breath, I have to almost schedule myself to be a free spirit when I go too far over that. I'll put in on a Sunday, don't do anything. Today from noon until 6, I'm just going to watch football, right? Because otherwise I'll find myself beating myself up that I'm watching football when I, quote, should be doing something else, right? And so I really resonate with this effortless topic that you bring up, because it is one of those things where you're consistently battling between what you should be doing, what you are doing currently, what the 2.0 version of yourself, again, should be doing. But there's an amount of effortlessness that will actually make things so much easier. Like you're just in flow, right? Relying on God, universe, yourself, the oneness that will take you to where you need to go.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a couple things. The first thing I think it comes down to is self-belief. If you believe in the outcome and that you're capable of achieving it, you know that the only thing that is in between you, where you are right now, and where you want to be is time. That's the only thing. Like it's already been achieved in the future. I know I've already achieved what I want in the future. So I don't feel like I have to stress about making sure I do this one thing today, because I know in due time I'll be exactly where I want to be. And it's kind of this separation between doing and being. Most people are all about doing and taking massive action. But if you come from a place of being, like I am already who I want to be, the doing is just a natural byproduct, and there's no emotional resistance, because the concept of effortless success is not about like the avoidance of physical work and taking action. It's all about the absence of emotional stress and resistance. So when you are being who you want to be, the rest will just take care of itself. And it takes a while to get there.
I mean, it can take a lifetime.
It can take a lifetime, or it can take a second, because it's literally just a shift in your mental and your emotional state, tapping into who you want to be.
Yeah. I battle with that a lot, right? Because I am very goal-oriented, and I know that I'll have days where my being wants to kind of dick around.
Sure.
Right? And do whatever. And yet I know that there's work to be done. And these are the types of things that will sharpen my mind and build my body and build my soul. And that's just resistance, or, as the War of Art would put it, it's resistance. So where do you find yourself when you're facing that resistance? Because it's present for everybody. Obviously, you get stronger, like with training. It gets easier to overcome that with practice. But let's say today, is there any resistance that you found that you had to override?
That's a great question. Any resistance that I had to override today? No. I mean, what comes up is just the fact that before I do anything, before I leave the house, before I got out of my car, I'll close my eyes and I'll just tap into what I call the 2.0 version of myself. And I'll just remind myself of who that is. And I'll close my eyes and I will feel like him. I will breathe like him. I will sit like him. And then I open my eyes and I know that whatever will come up is a part of being the 2.0 version. So I wouldn't call it resistance. I would just call it a part of the journey. I don't look at the self-talk as like if a negative self-talk came in, like, oh my God, this interview is going crummy. I wish I said something different.
Sure.
I won't look at that as resistance. I'll just look at that as the part of the journey of being the 2.0 version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally just a shift in perspective.
Right.
It's not a change of what I'm experiencing. It's just I look at it differently.
Sure. How do you guide people when they're first getting used to this 2.0 visualization technique, seeing the future as an inevitable destination and that we're just working towards and that we're on this journey?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the first practice that you would recommend people to dive into?
Consistent commitment to yourself, making the time to do the practice twice a day, every single day for 21 plus days. That is the most important thing. You just have to show up.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel good. You just have to show up. And eventually you'll get into this kind of routine of being able to dive deeper into yourself and create more of what you want. But the first thing is commitment to your future self. That is over everything else.
Right. So 21 days, 2 times a day. And would it be self-guided? Would it be following a program that you provide, an app? How do you guide people in the beginning?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. So I would have one-on-one sessions with them for the first 4, or at least 4 times in the first month that they want to go about this. The reason I do that is just to give them the guidance that they need from somebody who can help them. But after that, it's all you guiding your own imagination and visualization practice. But it's really important to sit with somebody who's an expert, whether it's me or somebody else, who can just kind of get you really familiar with what it feels like to be tapping into your higher self. And then from there, you can do it at home whenever you want by simply closing your eyes and connecting to your breath.
I've always done very well with accountability partners.
Right.
Sort. It doesn't necessarily need to be tit for tat. We're both doing hypnosis work. Is that what you would call this still, as self-hypnosis or visualization, just for those who want to do more research after listening to this?
I would call it guided meditation, visualization.
Visualization.
All one and the same, though.
Sure. More of the Joe Dispenza style of
Sure,
approach
yeah.
than
Yeah, very similar.
maybe the headspace, which is more about clearing the mind and allowing stuff to come up and settle down. This is more about priming the mind for intentional direction.
Right, yeah, creating
Correct.
more of what you want.
Right. So it's slightly different, but obviously you need one in order to do the other.
Totally,
Right?
yeah. You gotta quiet the mind first before you can begin creating.
I really enjoy working with an accountability partner, and it's important that you can get accountability from your coach or your trainer, but it's also important to just have a peer, someone else who's working with you to support each other in your guys' goals. And I like that a lot, because it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same goals, and it doesn't have to be one person teaching the other. It's just showing up for the other and feeling like you don't want to let yourself and the other person down. And I think that is such a great driver for a lot of people, because above all else, you've got to satisfy yourself, right? You have to love and appreciate and understand why you're stepping into your 2.0 self and why this commitment is the most important commitment in your life. Everything's going to trickle out of that. It's hard. You get lost in the weeds, especially during this COVID time.
Sure.
You know, I was talking about this before we went on air. I'm an extrovert. I have introverted qualities, and I've had times in my life where I've been too social and I'm not getting other things checked off the list. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not building my business the way I'd like to. I'm not committing to these other aspects of my 2.0 self. However, now that we're in this seemingly endless pandemic lifestyle, it's so important to rely on your tribe, even if you necessarily can't be there in person or in the flesh. There's still a lot of people out there who need that help. That's one of the things that I've been working on a lot, and that I would encourage other people, especially when you're getting into this type of
so important
intentional work, because it's so difficult, right?
Life is difficult by yourself for sure.
Whether you're man, woman, gay, straight, anything, we're brought up with the sense of we're not enough, right?
Amen
no matter
to that,
where
man.
you come from, there
That's
seems
where it
to
all
be
stems from.
right.
Yeah.
And that alone is like a trauma that you have to acknowledge is inside of you and work your way through it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's freaking probably the most important challenge in life, right?
Yeah, man. Coming back to the accountability thing, the greatest gift COVID has given me is me hiring a life coach. Up until that point, I've never hired a life coach. I guess you can call him a life coach. He just taught me a lot about my life and how to make my life better. And having a coach is the best decision I've ever made in my entire life.
Wow. I didn't know that this has been an ongoing. I know you've worked with coaches before, but I didn't know you had an ongoing relationship with a life coach.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'm not working with him right now, but for 12 weeks, it was just next level.
Can you talk a little bit more about what gave you the inspiration to look into a life coach, how you found this particular coach, and what sold you on them?
Well, that's a great question. So it was right when COVID happened. They shut down gyms, and 70% of my income at the time was coming from one-on-one training. So I was like, oh, shit, I'm not getting paid anymore. So I immediately tried to get creative and started to capitalize more on my online nutrition coaching, which I wasn't investing a ton of time or energy on. So I was like, okay, how can I get better at that? And there's a guy, Quasi Joe here on YouTube. His video just popped up on my screen. I don't know if it was an ad or something. I just saw it
Divine intervention.
So yeah, for sure. And he teaches entrepreneurs how to be more successful by tapping into the 2.0 version of yourself, or what he calls identity shifting. And I watched one video. It was like a 30-minute long video on YouTube. I'm like, this dude, he knows a lot of things that I'm not very familiar with, but that the more familiar I get by simply watching him, the more motivated I feel, the more clear I feel with where I need to go and what I need to do with my time now that I have so much free time. So I watched this one video. I said, this guy's got it, man. I need to follow from this dude, this leader who's done what I want to do.
Sure.
And it was the biggest investment I've ever made up until that point. Like I said, I wasn't getting paid anything. It was all of my savings right into his pocket. I was very kind of hesitant to make that decision, but I said, I'm going to do it for my future self, right? I'm making that commitment to myself. I'm going to invest in myself. And within 12 weeks time, I easily made that money back and much, much more.
Wow. Did you follow his 12-week program, or did you choose to work with him directly for 12 weeks before you felt like you were
he has a 12-week
forward?
program. It's a bunch of videos, a bunch of worksheets, and then you hop on a call with him twice a week. Yeah, so you get as much personal guidance as you need. Mm-hmm. But his exercises and what he just gets you to think about is what changes you.
Yeah.
You know? Because his shift in attitude and behavior is what changes everything externally. And once he showed me how to shift my attitude and behavior, things started to manifest, baby.
What was the key concepts that you may have resonated with when you saw his video, and what really instigated the meaningful shift in his program?
That's a powerful question. That's a great question. The thing that I believe stood out the most was the commitment to the practice of just showing up, how showing up is over half the battle, and just regularly showing up when you said you were going to. I think that really stood out to me and stuck with me. And just the importance of shifting your emotional state and how that will affect everything.
Mm-hmm. You are a coach. When I first met you, you were a coach for a class-based gym. Mm-hmm. Then I know that you were doing more one-on-one trainings. You got into hypnosis, nutrition, I'm sure I'm probably missing a couple subjects now too, because every time we hang out, there seems to be something new. I think the last time we hung out, you were talking about telekinesis, right?
Right. Trying to move objects with my mind.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have a follow up if Drew can master that.
I decided
Jedi
not to
Drew.
devote much time to that. There's better ways to invest my time.
Seems to be so many options right now.
Sure,
so
totally,
many
yeah.
different avenues
Right.
you can go down, but time is our most valuable and limited resource. So it is tricky. At the end of the day, it's pretty badass if you could get your glasses from across the room without
Right.
getting out of your chair.
But I'd be more inclined to feed my body nutrient dense foods than
Sure.
do that.
Right. And I think that your place and where you're heading, I think you're more interested in lifting heavy shit with your body as opposed
for sure.
to
Absolutely.
with your mind.
I love that too much.
But maybe that'll shift down the line.
Perhaps.
The question that I'm getting to is you obviously have a great relationship with coaching as a principle. You are a coach. You work with coaches. Your social circle are other coaches. How do you shit test coaches?
I think it's a very intuitive thing for me, where I can just pick up whether or not this person is the real deal, just by their energy, by their body language, by how they talk about whatever they're talking about. I think that's the greatest compass you can follow. Does it feel like this person knows what they're talking about? That and appearance. I think appearance is huge as well.
Sure.
But that's intuitive guidance for sure.
What do you mean by appearance?
If you're trying to get financial advice from somebody who pulls up in a piece of shit car, I'm like, okay, well, or he lives a very broke looking way, or trying to get nutrition advice from somebody who is clearly bloated all over. His face is swollen, their stomach is puffy, they're always hurt, and they tell you about, I just hurt my shoulder yesterday. Okay, well, I don't want to get advice from you.
Sure.
That's what I mean by that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Results based, right?
For sure.
Okay. I definitely hear you on the gut reaction, right? And when you're meeting anybody new, whether it's a new person to go into business with, a new friend, a potential romantic interest, a coach, there is just an initial reaction. And I think that it's a little bit more nuanced than that, because I can get a first reaction, but people are always a little bit more complicated than what you first pick up on.
Sure.
Right? And
Absolutely. 100%.
for example, going back to that story about, you were kind of on the cutting block at the beginning of the Pearl Street Fitness days.
Right.
And you rubbed a few people the wrong way, but then you got over that challenge. You learned from your mistakes. You took some constructive criticism. You built upon your foundation, and you became a fantastic coach.
Absolutely.
However, your appearance or your presence at that beginning wasn't 100% there. And I think that goes back to locking in with yourself and your 2.0 self.
I wasn't a good coach then.
Embodying that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked that question about coaches because it seems that, especially in our general age group, jobs are getting harder and harder to come by. And there is an increasing amount of coaches coming out in there, for anything, for
Right.
being a good pet owner, right?
Sure,
There's a
sure,
coach for
absolutely.
that. For anything you could think of, there's coaches now. However, it seems like difficult, and I don't have an answer for this. I don't really have an opinion on it.
Right.
But how does someone younger than their clientele convince them of their expertise?
That's a very difficult thing to do, for sure. And I think the way you convince them is you lead by example. That's the only convincing you can ever do. You can try to use your words, but somebody who's older and wiser and who has a really good shit test, they'll be able to pick up on your inauthenticity. But all you can do is lead by example. That is the most important thing.
100%.
And it might take a long time for people to notice that, oh, okay, maybe I will listen to her, or maybe I will listen to him, after you led by example for 5 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever it takes,
That ego is a tricky thing, right? That's as I ask that question, I think about what my answer would be to that question. And I think that it boils down into an egotistical dynamic, right? Young
Sure.
people tend to have all the energy, all
Of
the
course,
possibility.
yeah.
I can do anything, right? And
100%.
it's my job to reinstill the youth and the vigor into my clients, right? Whether it's a mental rejuvenation, reshaping their body, and it can be presumptuous, right? I could fall into that where there's only so much you can do with someone who's had shoulder surgery.
Right.
You know, it's hard for someone in their 20s to accurately train with somebody in their 50s who's got all sorts of ailments unless they're extremely well studied on that. On the flip side, there's a lot of very stubborn older folks who feel like, what does this kid know? Right? Why would I take advice from this person who obviously this person can run a marathon no problem because they're in their 20s.
Right.
I'm in my 50s. How am I supposed to take guidance from this person? You know, who the hell is this person? I think that above all else, it's getting out of your way, getting out of your head and saying, what does your intuition say about this? Is this something that am I ready to jump into an intimate relationship with this coach and be authentic and vulnerable with this person and get genuine feedback and promote each other, right? Give ourselves an opportunity for Drew, the coach, to improve upon his coaching and in that process, increase value in their clients' lives. It's just so difficult with social media and public presence on really getting the authentic self out of that for both clients and coaches.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of good marketers out there that are not actually good coaches. For sure.
Yeah, I agree. So kind of shifting gears a little bit from where you were in some of your origins to where you're heading. What is it that's really exciting you right now?
This nutrition course that I'm about to launch. I know this is something that I'm going to be working on, helping people go through for the years to come, because it's very in-depth, helping people identify their metabolic type, which kind of foods their body best function on, and also incorporating all of the mindset stuff that I've accumulated over the past few years. That is something that I've been working on for the past 6 months, or more than that, and something that I'm really looking forward to sharing once it's finished here in the next few weeks. Probably by the time this is released, it'll be available for people.
Right on. And I'll be sure to promote the hell out of you, obviously.
Sure.
I can say firsthand that this man has helped me out of some of my darkest corners. And I am eternally grateful for that. What I really like about where you're coming from, which I think is just a crucial characteristic of modern day coaches, is that you understand that we're still on the frontier of this subject. We'd like to think that physical fitness is something that we've been building on for 30 plus years, pretty much since Arnold Schwarzenegger and the 70s, you know, jogging, working out, staying in a physically good condition is good for your health, good for your longevity, good for your mind. However, nutrition and mental health are both subjects that are just now becoming talking points all over the world.
Right.
And we are understanding, one, how much we don't know, and two, how far we've deviated from the original source.
Right.
And both of those are just such critical concepts to understand from the get-go. Everyone is dealing with a nutritional issue, a mental issue, and everyone also understands that we don't know what we don't know yet, and that there is no right answer, right? I mean, just 10 years ago, it was all about just ingesting copious amounts of processed protein.
Sure.
Right? That was nutrition, right? As long as you're getting some absurd amount of protein in, you're getting your gains,
No
right?
saturated fats, because that was the
no
devil.
saturated fats, exactly. And how much has that been turned upside down with the ketogenic movement in the last
Oh, and
5,
it's
7
always
years.
going to be flipping back and forth for sure.
Well, right.
Absolutely.
Can you, in a more distilled fashion, talk about your nutritional philosophy?
There is no best diet. That's my philosophy, and my philosophy is doing the due diligence, or really having the patience to identify what is called your metabolic type. And all that means is what foods do you feel best on? Do you feel best on a high protein, high fat diet? Do you feel best on a high carb, low protein, low fat? Do you feel best on a variable, like where to kind of mix and match? And the only way to identify that is to let go of the ego, let go of what you think you should be feeling best on, and kind of recording what you're eating, seeing what you feel best on, having a little how food feels journal where you eat and you record and you kind of just create some data for yourself. So my philosophy is you got to personalize it, and you have to learn how to become your own nutrition coach, for a lack of a better word, so you do not get caught up in all of these dogmatic approaches that do not work for the masses.
What it sounds like is that it's the same as your hypnosis work and your meditation coaching.
For sure.
Right? You're teaching people how to fish. essentially,
Absolutely. 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
You're giving people as much knowledge and empowerment through that knowledge so that they can go off and be self-sufficient.
Yeah,
and
it's
tap
not
in.
a coaching program that tells you to stop eating Cheetos and stop going to McDonald's. It teaches you the deep work of how to be the 2.0 version of yourself mentally and emotionally, and how to fuel your body in a way that works for you, not for your girlfriend or boyfriend, not for your mother, but for you.
Right.
And it's probably different than your girlfriend or your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
That can make dinner kind of complicated sometimes.
That I understand. I feel like right now is a really crucial time too, because we do have so much more spare time, and we'd also at the same time don't have as much social pressure. There's not as many.
Sure, yeah.
There's not as many
Very true.
backyard parties at this time. We're coming up, getting closer to Halloween. There's not as much focus on alcohol and sugar as there would be
Last year at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. However, at the same time, there's also a lot less structure to the day. And it's difficult, especially for myself. I've always relied on having these engagements to keep me motivated for the next thing, right?
Sure.
You know, like there's this party, going back to the Halloween, this party's coming up. I want to make sure my costume's killer.
Yeah.
Right? Having that deadline is crucial, at least in my personality type, to meet the deadline and to show up. And I can go back and give tons and tons of examples of that. I think a lot of it comes from traditional schooling and being prepared for a test.
Sure, yeah.
And then once I got into music, having deadlines for shows that I would play and making sure that we were rock solid. Like those harmonies have got to be solid by the show. Right, having the deadline. And so it's difficult right now to hold yourself to those deadlines. And I was wondering what you would recommend for people who are struggling with coming up with deadlines.
Don't rely on motivation to kind of get you moving. And this is a difficult thing to do, obviously. And that's why so many people are frustrated and overweight and sick, because it's challenging. But remind yourself that you have to begin taking action until you begin to feel better. Like you got to move, and then you'll feel like you want to move. Does that make sense?
Yeah, rely on the system. Don't rely on the motivation.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about the process. It's not about the results. Just do it. Just do the motion.
Sure.
And then the motivation will follow.
Are there any tools that you'd recommend for helping people get started? Because obviously, like anything, it's weak until it grows stronger. How would you recommend people who maybe don't have a coach, who are out there wanting to hit a reset button as this weather changes? Are there any tools, apps, books, videos that you would put out there that would help kickstart something like that?
Yeah, so the first thing I would recommend is to get a coach, but you said if they didn't have a coach. The second thing that came up for me is to read Jocko Willink, Discipline Equals Freedom. That'll get the ball rolling for you for sure. And he has some great teachings in there. But in regards to apps or tools, I don't really have anything that I use. Nothing for my personality type, I guess, would get me moving other than myself, man.
Right on. For me, I always feel best when I may have talked about this before online or on the show, but the Headspace app was huge for me because I really wanted to start my days with meditation. I knew that if I woke up and just started going, the likelihood of me having a positive, impactful, fully lived day was minimized without a dedicated morning routine. And meditation was such a great disciplinary task right at the very, very beginning of the day. Ironically, the practice of meditation is separating yourself from your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your ego, essentially, and yet they have a streak function on the app that I let it feed my ego, and I want to keep that streak going just, day after day. I don't want to break that streak. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was a bit of a hack.
For sure.
It was a bit of a way to kind of step around myself and achieve the goal while still feeding the ego to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. I'm always looking for something like that.
Yeah, Headspace is legit. It's an incredible way to start practicing some meditation and some mindfulness.
There was another app that you brought up recently for breath work.
Oh, yeah, breath work.
Is that what it's called? It's just called
breath work, and it's WRK for the word work. And that is not a guided meditation. It's all about breathing, because the way you breathe immediately shifts the way you feel. Every emotion has a breathing pattern that is synchronized to it. So if you're able to change your breath, the emotion will follow. So that app is tremendous for helping you tap into different emotional states. If you're tired of feeling sick and tired or depressed or anxious, breathe differently, and then you'll feel differently. And that's what that app's all about.
I've been working in a lesson that I learned from Aubrey Marcus's book, Own the Day. He says that 6 deep intentional breaths instigate physiological responses, right?
Yeah.
So even if you don't have a meditation practice right now or any sort of breath work practice, just taking 6 intentional breaths and just focusing on those breaths alone and just observing what resistance you face while going through that can create the shift that can literally make or break your day. I've been doing it before mealtime to really savor and prepare myself for
that's awesome.
For eating. I encourage my band to do that. At the beginning, I'm all about opening with a jam in these and just letting everything out, just right, musically, and then tapping into breath and resetting, and then getting into the work. And I think that that's a great way to kind of tackle life, at least for my personality type. For me, I love wiping the slate clean and journaling, which in my eyes is kind of the same sort of principle as jamming and then tapping into like some team breath work.
For sure, yeah.
So it doesn't have to be I now meditate 20 minutes every single day. The routine only helps encourage moment-by-moment presence. By knowing that I'm meditating in the mornings, it gives me a second when I get angry driving my car or frustrated about an email to check myself.
Yeah.
Where I normally would just let that emotion start to snowball inside of me. And I would maybe yell at somebody on the road or write a nasty email or respond angrily and without conscious thought, right? I would let my emotion rule the decision rather than putting my emotion in check and then making what would be the best decision in that situation. So we've been going for almost an hour already, which is kind of nuts because it doesn't feel like that at all, right? But I had a few remaining questions, and I want to be respectful of your time. We've talked a lot about stepping into, your conscious self, but a lot of the hypnosis work that you train is about not only tapping into the conscious, but tapping into the subconscious as well. And it's something that I've toyed with, but admittedly have not become as experienced as I would like to be.
Sure.
Would you mind talking a little bit about your journey to tapping into your subconscious and how you work with your clients in that respect?
Yeah. So the reason I got into subconscious healing, subconscious change, or hypnosis, I was training people and nobody was changing. And it became very clear to me, not only for other people, but also for myself, that trying to change with your conscious mind, you are very limited, because your conscious mind is really analytical and it is shit testing everything. And it's really hard to convince your conscious mind that change is possible. So if you consciously tell yourself, I want to start exercising, or I want to start eating healthy, your conscious mind will compare that to how you showed up yesterday. And if you didn't show up yesterday training hard, eating healthy, the moment you think to yourself, I want to do it tomorrow, it's going to say bullshit. It's not going to happen. And it's really hard to change when you have that negative self-talk telling yourself it ain't going to happen. So that's why so many people have a hard time changing. Even if they're good with habits for a while, it's still a cover-up to your subconscious programming. And if you haven't done your due diligence to program it in a way that is aligned with how you really want to show up, you can cover up that programming for a while, but eventually that shit's going to come right back up to surface. It happens to everybody. It might take a week, it might take a year, but it happens. But when you're using meditation or hypnosis, call it what you want. I'm just going to use the word meditation. When you use meditation as a tool to facilitate change, you quiet your conscious mind, for lack of a better word. And that means your subconscious mind now becomes the dominating part of your awareness. So rather than trying to change with your conscious mind, you're now speaking and feeling and thinking with your subconscious mind. And for some reason, I don't know why, your subconscious mind does not get analytical. It doesn't rationalize. It immediately accepts everything it thinks and believes to be true instantaneously. So when you're in a deep, relaxed, meditative state and you think to yourself, I'm going to change tomorrow, you begin to feel as if you're really going to change and you really believe it. And so when you kind of wake up out of this meditative state, you just feel pulled and called in this effortless manner to act in a way that is aligned with your 2.0 self, or with whatever you just kind of programmed in your subconscious mind. And when you do that multiple times a day, day after day, day after day, you're able to literally rewire the way your subconscious mind works. And so that you're able to create a future that is more aligned with what you want. So that's kind of why I got into tap into the subconscious, because it's such a beautiful way to create massive change in a fun, joyful, beautiful way.
I love it. Yeah, it's changed my life.
Sure.
Absolutely. And it's something that, again, it's very, very difficult work, but yet it is the most important work. I feel so rewarded from having you as an asset while I was going through the really, really dark times of the sickness.
Yeah.
And help me get out of it. And it's still something that I need to remind myself of. How powerful was this tool when I was in my darkest hours?
It's very
and
powerful.
Yet I still find myself almost avoiding that when things are a little bit better. Right?
Yeah, man.
Which is my own shit, right?
Yeah, that's certainly your own shit, for sure. Maybe we need to do a deeper hypnosis session to figure out where that stems from. Just some letting go of it, some moving on from it, for sure. We haven't done any of that together. We've done more of the creating process of hypnosis, creating more of what you want. Then there's that other aspect of letting go of the trauma, or letting go of why this pattern keeps showing up. And that's another way of healing, for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Maybe we can do it live. Maybe not. It's very vulnerable, but
I'd be open to it.
Sure.
I was going to ask you, I know we did a quick opening one, but I thought anybody who's resonating with this podcast right now and is interested in learning more about hypnosis or coaching, or Drew specifically, I think it would be a great opportunity. And I want to illuminate you
Fuck yeah.
as my guest today. So yeah, let's do it. We'll wrap this up and then we'll reposition for a hypnosis session, and we'll put that as like kind of like the end cap to this whole thing.
Beautiful.
In closing, man, are there any specific books or maybe first steps that you would recommend for people who are out there looking to kickstart right now? I know you recommended that the 21-day hypnosis work. We haven't even touched on physical fitness, which was like your kind of cornerstone where you kind of built off of. What do you recommend people who need a kickstart?
Gotcha. Great question. A couple of things come to mind. And the first one is find a coach, find somebody who will guide you. I think that is paramount to everybody's success. Regardless of how far you are up on the totem pole or low, find somebody who is higher than you to guide you. Not higher than you in every area of life, but higher than you in whatever area you want to get better at. The second thing is you brought up headspace. That's how I started meditation. That put me on a fast track towards just getting familiar with tapping into this really beautiful mindful state. I would really encourage everybody to use headspace. And then the third thing that I wanted to say is Google Frederick Dodson. Read every single book he has wrote. The first one I would recommend is Parallel Universe of Self. And the second book is Success Attracts Success. His teachings are very beautiful, and they're really enjoyable, and they're effortless. Really. Right on. Those are my 3 recommendations. Get a coach, get on Headspace, read Frederick Dodson.
All right. Well, I've done 2 of the 3. So now I guess I need to look up this Frederick Dodson.
Yes.
I have an Audible credit, and it was between the new Matthew McConaughey.
Highly recommend that as well.
Biography, or
that's entertainment.
The Frederick Dodson.
Yeah,
I think I've got enough entertainment right now.
Yeah.
I'm still chipping away at these endless Game of Thrones novels. When I try to go to bed, I listen to the same freaking chapter every single night because I put it on a sleep timer, and then I nod out, and then I don't remember where I left off, so I just start over.
Goodness.
I've been listening to the same chapter for like a week and a half.
Goodness.
But I mean, it achieves its purpose of a story time before bedtime. Drew, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your expertise. We always have such great conversations. It's interesting to actually have a microphone in there. Maybe we should just record our conversation.
I think we should, for sure, man. Some of the things we talk about, I think many people can benefit from.
The journey continues, my friend.
Absolutely. Always will.
All right, buddy. Love you.
I love you too, man.
Bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to my interview with Drew DeOrsey. Be sure to follow him on your social media platforms. I've included all the ways to get in touch with his coaching, his programs, everything about Drew in the show notes at themindmill.com. And now, here's a short hypnosis session with myself and Drew.
To all of you still listening, we are going to do a little guided meditation with the intention of letting go of any negative thoughts or emotions that are no longer serving you, and stepping into and embodying what I call the 2.0 version of yourself, the healthiest, the happiest, the most successful version of yourself. So if you want to participate, what I want you to do is go ahead and find a comfortable position. And if you need to pause the recording to do that, go ahead and do that now. Finding a comfortable position. We are not driving. Finding a comfortable position. Putting your earphones in. If you haven't done that already, it'll be a much, much better experience for you to have headphones in for this. Just go ahead and sit down or lie down in a comfortable place. And I want your eyes to be open right now. And I want you to find one spot on the ceiling in front of you or above you, or the wall in front of you or above you. Just finding one spot to direct your gaze and to hold your attention. Staring at that one spot. And go ahead and allow yourself to take in one big, deep, powerful inhale. And then just release, feeling that physical relaxation as you exhale. Taking another powerful, deep inhale. And then release. Eyes are still open. One more time. Taking one powerful inhale. Deep inhale. Hold it at the top for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And go ahead and release. And as you release, just closing your eyes. And as you close your eyes, feeling that shift that is taking over right now, already feeling more relaxed than you felt just moments ago. And I just want you to notice your breath, breathing in through your nose and then out through your nose or your mouth, whatever is most comfortable. But you are breathing in through your nose and out through whatever feels most relaxing to you. And I want you to imagine or visualize yourself looking down a flight of stairs. There's 10 steps and you are looking down that staircase. Go ahead and bring up that image now. And you can kind of feel that looking down sensation that you would feel as if you were looking over a balcony, looking over something steep and vast. And now that you have that image, in a moment, I'm going to count down from the numbers 10 to the number 1. And as I do so, I want you to imagine or visualize yourself taking one step down the staircase. And each step you take, allowing and noticing the shift in your body, feeling more and more relaxed with each step you take, feeling more connected to your mind and your body with each step you take, dropping deeper and deeper with each step you take, setting that intention right now. So by the time we get to the last step, you will feel so relaxed, so comfortable, so present. Starting with the number 10, taking that first step, 9, dropping deeper and deeper, 8, already noticing a major shift taking over your body, 7, dropping deeper and deeper still, 6, feeling so relaxed, 5, already twice as deep as you were just moments ago, allowing your body to surrender to the process, 4, now with the next few steps, I want you to double your level of relaxation with the next few steps, 3, doubling your level of relaxation now, 2, doubling it once more, 1, taking that final step, dropping deep, so deep in this guided meditation, feeling so relaxed, so connected, so present. What we are doing now is speaking directly to your subconscious mind, and this is the part of your mind that allows you to change in such a fast and dramatic and powerful and effortless fashion. And what I want to do now is I want to rid ourselves from any negative thought or emotion that is no longer going to serve you as you embark on your future endeavors. And before we do that, I want you to get really clear with what those negative thoughts are, what those negative emotions are, what those negative habits are that you want to let go of once and for all. Get very clear with them. And now that you know what you want to let go of, I am going to count down from the numbers 10 to 1, and with each decreasing number I count, I want you to simply notice that those negative thoughts and emotions melt off of your body. They fade away. So by the time we get to the number 1, they will be gone. You will feel light. You will be free. You will be ready to embark on a new journey and tap into something very, very powerful. Setting that intention right now. By the time we get to the number 1, the negative thoughts will be gone. The negative emotions, the negative habits will be gone once and for all. Starting with the number 10, 9, letting those negative thoughts and emotions just melt away, drip off of your body. 8, 7, 6, fading and melting. 5, 4. If there are any more lingering negative thoughts or emotions, just let them go now. Let them leave now. 3, 2, 1. Feeling light, feeling free, feeling ready to embody the 2.0 version of yourself, the healthiest, the happiest version of yourself. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine or visualize yourself looking at the healthiest and the happiest and the most successful version of you. He or she is standing directly in front of you. I want you to bring up that image right now. You are looking at the most successful, the healthiest, the happiest, the 2.0 version of yourself. And I want you to notice a few things about them. I want you to notice the way they look. I want you to notice their body language. I want you to notice their habits. I want you to notice their thoughts. I want you to notice whatever you need to notice about them. Go ahead and do that now, noticing how beautiful they are. And I want you to notice something that is very important, which is the only thing that is different between where you are right now and the 2.0 version of yourself is a shift in attitude and behavior. Everything else is the exact same. You are them, they are you. The only thing that is different is a difference in attitude and behavior. And we are going to shift our attitude and behavior to be aligned with the 2.0 version of ourselves. And the way we are going to do that is in a moment, I am going to have you imagine or visualizing yourself standing up and hugging the 2.0 version of yourself who is standing directly in front of you. And when you hug them, you will be embodying everything they stand for. When you hug them, you will feel as if you are becoming them. You will breathe like them. You will stand like them. You will lie down like them. You will literally become them. Setting that intention right now. When I have you hug them, you become them. You breathe like them. You sit like them. You act like them. You think like them. Right now, looking at the 2.0 version of yourself, I want you to make sure that you have their attention, that they're looking at you, they acknowledge you. And I want you to walk up to them right now and hug them and embrace them and hold on to them tight and keep holding on to them, feeling that shift in breath. Because when you hold them, you become them, you feel like them, you embody their attitude, you embody their behavior. And I want you to hold on to them so tightly. Noticing that shift taking over your entire mind and body right now. Feeling as if you are the 2.0 version of yourself because you are right now. In a moment, I'm going to have you release the hug. And then when you release the hug, I want you to thank them. Thank them for their courage. Thank them for their strength. Thank them for whatever you need to thank them for. And go ahead and hug them, or go ahead and release the hug now. And thank them for their courage, for their strength. And go ahead and release the image of them from your mind and from your body. And just come back to your body. Come back to your breath. And before we move on, before we wrap this up, I want you to give yourself some thanks for embarking on the journey that you just embarked on. You just shifted. You just shifted who you are in such a deep, powerful way that the way you feel is different. The way you are going to show up for the rest of the day has changed from here on out. Giving thanks to yourself. In a moment, I'm going to count up from the numbers 1 to 5. And when I get to the number 5, you will open your eyes. You will feel wide awake. You will feel so good, so connected to your higher self, to the 2.0 version of yourself. Starting with the number 1, already feeling less relaxed. 2, feeling more stiff, feeling more rigid. 3, coming back to your surroundings, coming back to physical sensations. 4, 5, opening your eyes, feeling wide awake, feeling full of energy, feeling so excited for the rest of your day. You are now the 2.0 version of yourself. Go act accordingly. Thank you.